Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we look at the latest comics and other media featuring the Transformers. In this episode, we take a look back at Skybound's first year of Transformers comics as they create a new Energon Universe. Today is Friday, October 25th, 2024, and this is episode 413 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that runs only on premium, high-grade Energon. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team of Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going? Let's talk Transformers.
As always, we start off the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the show. We really appreciate it. If you are not a Donatron and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support and you can sign up right there and contribute to the show. You get some perks for being a Donatron. That includes access to all our contests, automatically being entered into all our contests, getting to watch us record the show live every Sunday, and getting access to bonus content, which includes our bonus show, We Like Big Bots. That's done by Daryl and Dr. Pants, and they talk about all the big bots in their collection. They've got multiple versions of different characters, and they go through all the bots they have and show them off. We got 14 episodes of these big bots right now, and more should be on the way, hopefully. Crossing fingers. We've also got our Transformers Live Play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust. And this week we have the regular version of Empire of Rust number 126, No Mercy Mission this time. So this is available at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. If you want access to the next episode, that will be the early uncut bonus version will be out this Monday. So that'll be episode 127 this Monday, exclusively for our Donatrons on the Patreon page. Then the following week, you'll get the regular version of episode 127. In the free feed at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. We've still got copies of our Transformers number 1 exclusive cover that's available at our website, transmissionspodcast.com/comic. This has artwork by EJ Sue on the cover, so you can get an exclusive Transmissions variant of Transformers number 1. You can pick that up at our website. And we should have some at TFCon Baltimore in just a couple weeks, or I guess in 1 week when this goes live. So look forward to that. And lastly, we've got our promo code for toyhacks.com. Use our code OCTOBOTS throughout the month of October to save 15% off all your purchases at toyhacks.com. So you've got one more week to use that code OCTOBOTS, and then we'll switch over. And then I don't know what's going to happen in November. I think Toy Hacks does a Black Friday sale, so we might not have a code for November, but we'll keep you posted. But yeah, use that code OCTOBOTS, 15% off everything at toyhacks.com. Use it as many times as you want until October 31st. And cannot be combined with any other promo codes, but can be used with your RoboPoints. Okay, let's start off the show, and we're going to get into some comics news. All right, well, Skybound is putting up pre-orders for their deluxe editions for the Energon Universe. So we've got Void Rivals Book 1, and this collects issues 1 through 12 of Void Rivals. And then we've also got the deluxe edition of Transformers, which collects issues 1 through 12 of Transformers. And these will both be available next year in May and June, May and June. So Transformers will be in May, and then Void Rivals will be in June. So if you are still, if you don't buy the single issues for the Energon Universe comics, you can get the entire first year in one nice premium book. So, or for each comic. It's not one book for all the comics. One for Void Rivals, one for Transformers. So you can check those out and pre-order them at Amazon. They are both for about $45. for the 12 issues.
And if you missed out on them, I'm sure at some point they're going to have an omnibus that collects all of the Energon Universe. I mean,
yes.
Skybound does not seem to be above multiple copies of the same content.
Yeah, I mean, we learned that with the unending covers of every issue and unending reprints of every issue with extra covers. So, yeah. Okay, next, I got this email from James Roberts. So all the people who had bought the More Than Meets the Eye notebooks, the James Roberts is putting out another 2 volumes. So he's released so far More Than Meets the Eye notebooks 1 through 4. Now he's got Lost Light notebooks volume 5 and 6. So those are available. He's making those available, and you can contact him directly to put an order in. He's also doing some script books, longer form script books for More Than Meets the Eye, covering in depth some specific 3-part stories there. So if you are a big More Than Meets the Eye / Lost Light fan and have been collecting these notebooks, you can check these out and order from James Roberts directly. I believe he's taking orders until November. I forget what the email said. Let me quickly look at that. Yeah, deadline is November 30th. So you have until November 30th to put your order in. And if you have any questions, you can message James Roberts on social media. He's on X, formerly Twitter, and Blue Sky. And I'm not sure if he's anywhere else, but you can. Those are 2 places you can definitely get in touch with him. And if you are interested in putting an order in for these books, he's also taking orders for the previous volumes that he's released. So if you missed out on any, you can get them all in one go. There, just take a note of the shipping costs, because he's doing this himself, so he's got to ship everything from the UK to wherever you are. So
I will say, in terms of like in doing something like this is as clear as I've ever seen, how to do this. And like he has here, like, what's new? I have limited quantities of the old stuff. Here's the pricing. Shipping is gonna, be a pain. But it's just very, very clear information. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he's he's basically he's learned, like, I think he's this is like his 3rd time doing this, so I think he's learned from Pat, because I've been ordering these as they happen. So the first time was a little bit rougher, but it keeps getting better. So he's been streamlining the process and making things as painless as possible for everyone. So good on him. We are fans of James Roberts here. All the work he did on IDW Transformers comics, particularly More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light, were those are my high watermark for Transformers comics. So glad to see that if you're interested in getting all the in-depth information of his creative process, you can pick that up. All right. Well, speaking of Transformers comics, we are going to do something a little bit special for this episode. We're going to go back and do a year in review of the Skybound Transformers comics. So let's take it away. All right. So, we had planned a bigger show for this. We actually invited some more people on. Daryl's out this week. So we had all these cancellations came at the last minute, and the show must go on. So you got me and Jeremy, and that's it. So we're gonna make do. But we will have to do another show where we get some, everyone else's opinions on the Transformers comics. We've all been reading them for the last year, so I think we've all got different perspectives. So, maybe we'll do a future episode with as other people in getting their perspectives on the Transformers comics. But yeah, we did want to go through the first year of Transformers comics. So far they've released 13 issues. The first year was, of course, issues 1 through 12, and then issue 13 came out just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting, interesting new continuity for Skybound Transformers. It's interesting just because, before this happened, I mean, the rumors were everywhere after we heard that IDW was losing the Transformers license, and there were questions about where it would go. And the Skybound rumors started up immediately. It was known, of course, Robert Kirkman was a big fan, has always been a big fan of Transformers. And even in the past, he said, he would have liked to work on Transformers comics, but he wanted to do something original. And I think he got his wish with when they worked out the deal to move to Skybound. And interesting, Robert Kirkman, of course, did not take over the Transformers book, but he did create his own original story, his own original basically title called Void Rivals. And this Void Rivals story is heavily steeped in Transformers lore. So I think it's interesting that he took the Transformers universe as a backdrop and then wanted to create his own unique property within that. And I think it shows how invested Robert Kirkman is in this project, in that he basically gave all his rights to Hasbro for all the things he created in Void Rivals. So, we noted that in the first issue of Void Rivals, the fine print said all the characters are property of Hasbro. So, whatever deal they've worked out, Hasbro gets all the rights to the characters and the setting and storyline, but Robert Kirkman, of course, gets to define and create this new universe. And of course, we had the reveal that was leaked ahead of time that Jetfire had a cameo in the first issue of Void Rivals that showed you that you're cemented in a new Transformers universe, which was dubbed the Energon Universe. And because Transformers always has to be the backbone of any shared universe that is created around it. So that was Void Rivals came out in, I think it was June of last year, or of 2023. And then after that reveal, then it was announced that Transformers were getting a rebooted comics in October of 2023. And then we started off from there. We were off to the races in October, and we've been going strong ever since. So that's the preamble. So let's get into these Transformers comics. And of course, I mean, it's been a great year for Transformers comics. Daniel Warren Johnson, I think, has been a great new addition to developing a new Transformers lore. They did win 2 Eisner Awards this year, which is were pretty exciting to see Transformers getting Eisner Awards, Best Continuing Series and Best Writer Artist for Transformers. So congratulations to Daniel Warren Johnson for both those awards. And I mean, I've been pretty happy with the new Transformers series and the new universe. It is going back to the G1 basics, where we're starting off again with the the G1 storyline where the Ark crashes on Earth, and we're spinning out from there. So really back to the original, what everyone remembers from 1984. We started off with that. Of course, things are significantly different, but we start with that as a baseline, so everyone knows how we're jumping into this. So the first story arc is the introduction to the Transformers, and we get Jetfire coming from Void Rivals, since he was awakened in deep space. Then we don't really get the story of how he tracked the Ark to Earth, but he did find them and then reactivated all the Autobots and Decepticons, but without realizing that there had been a war that started after he left Cybertron. So Starscream, of course,
that's playing with what happened in the G1 cartoon as well.
Yes, it is. It is. That's right. Yeah, because that was when Skyfire was introduced in the G1 cartoon, he and Starscream were friends. They were exploring a planet Earth before the war started, and then he was lost and entombed in ice for millions of years, and then awakened after the Ark crash. So yeah, similar idea there. Of course, now Jetfire is the one to actually awaken the Transformers on Earth, and he awakens Starscream first because, of course, that's his friend. But then Starscream immediately murders Bumblebee after he awakens. So Jetfire's like, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you murdering one of our fellow Cybertronians?" And then Starscream's like, "Hey, there's a war on, buddy." But of course, luckily Optimus Prime gets revived next, and that kicks everything off. So, I think I'm not going to go into we're not going to recap the entire series, but what I do want to just mention is how clearly defined these characters are in the new storyline. I think Daniel Warren Johnson really did a lot of work to clearly define Optimus Prime, Starscream, Soundwave, Ratchet. I think those were kind of the core characters in the first 6-issue arc. Also, Spike and Carly getting significant time. Cliffjumper getting some significant time here, and then the juxtaposition of Optimus Prime as the endless war he's seen on Cybertron, and then juxtapose that with Sparky, Spike's father, and his experience as a veteran of war, and also grieving for the loss of his son, who was an astronaut who I guess was killed in a space shuttle disaster. That we don't get a lot of details on that, but we do get some glimpses of flashback that happened. So I think really that's the strength of these books, is how clearly they get the Transformers characters, like Optimus Prime, his leadership, his gentleness contrasted with his strength and power. Starscream just being a complete sadist and reveling in just causing pain to other beings, which I thought was, it's Starscream like amped up to 11. It was really interesting to see how extreme Starscream went. And then you see like Soundwave getting a really cool characterization as being clearly a Decepticon on the, his goals are Decepticon conquest and everything, but he's super rational. He's like, if things don't serve our goals, why are we doing them? Why, and this is the conflict we have with the Decepticons towards the end of the first arc, and then starting off the second arc, is he sees how badly Starscream's leadership takes such a bad turn because he's so focused on causing as much pain as possible that it's to the detriment of even their own goals. So, reading through these issues again, I was struck by how focused Starscream is on causing pain, and he had a chance to basically kill Optimus Prime at one point in outside the hospital, but he wants to murder the humans as much as possible and make Optimus feel bad about it. So if he had just shot Optimus in the head at that point, they would have won. But
Starscream's always been his own biggest problem of getting his things done. Yeah,
his own worst enemy. Yeah, and then that's carried forward in the second arc, where Soundwave basically says, Starscream, you fucked up too many times and we're taking leadership from you. And we get a nice little gladiatorial nod. Decepticons, their leadership positions are chosen by, if you're challenged, you got to rise to the challenge, and you got to fight for your leadership. And Soundwave challenges him and wins and takes over leadership of the Decepticons, and they throws Starscream to his supposed death. More on that later, but it's comics. If you throw someone down a dark pit, they're not dead. They're never dead. But that's still that's later on. The second arc, of course, is focused on the Decepticons regrouping and then getting making contact with Cybertron, and very reminiscent of the Ultimate Doom, that classic G1 storyline, and then also I guess Transport to Oblivion, which was the first G1 cartoon episode focusing on the space bridge. So and even I think the Skybound trade paperback calls the second story arc Transport to Oblivion. So that's a fun little nod there. And then we get another villain in Shockwave, another character that we get a really interesting characterization of, because it's not the cold logical Shockwave that has been kind of the norm in comics and in many iterations of comics. We get a little bit more, just I think more the mad scientist Shockwave here, who's very obsessed with experimenting on just anything and everything. And also, I mean, not quite as bad as Starscream, but also quite sadistic in his attack, looking at do all the things he wants to do. Also, the harvesting energy from Earth and all the, just turning all the sea creatures into mulch. That was pretty extreme there. But he sees it. It's so like all this beautiful life, beautiful organic life, that we turn into mulch and energy for Cybertron. So, and then we also got in the second arc, we got Alita 1. That was another character we got a lot of focus on. Alita 1 and Arcee. Also, Carly and her trauma from the loss of her dad in when Starscream killed him in the first arc. And I guess I should have said spoilers in the beginning.
I mean, anyone listening to the show should know.
Yeah, but I think what also in addition to all the characterization, the pace of these comics, like we complained in previous previous Transformers iterations about the very slow pace in some storylines. That is not an issue with Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers. The pace is very fast in these issues. Lots of stuff happens in every issue. You get lots of action and battle scenes. Also, Daniel Warren Johnson, I think, is a fan of wrestling, so you got lots of wrestling moves there. So it's just a fun ride throughout the issues. So. I've been very satisfied with the Skybound Transformers comics, this past year, and I hope Daniel Warren Johnson. They think they already said he's going to be on for another year until issue 24. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but I'm looking forward to more of these comics. And we still don't even have Megatron. Like all these good stuff happened, and we still didn't get Megatron in the comic yet. He's still he's making his way out. He made it out he escaped Cobra La in the Energon Universe special, but he's still in pretty bad shape. And and then another thing, of course, we had Optimus Prime lost an arm and then gained an arm with Megatron's fusion cannon arm, which I think that's something that we have never seen before. Optimus Prime using Megatron's fusion cannon arm. And I'm waiting for the toy version of that to come out too. So hopefully Hasbro is on that. But I mean, what were your overall thoughts with this last year of Transformers comics?
Well, I mean, this was my introduction to Robert Kirkman and Daniel Warren Johnson. Like, I'm not a Walking Dead reader. I think I've read one other Daniel Warren Johnson book for DC, I believe. But I wasn't really aware of him other than I was reading something that he wrote. And I didn't know about any of the other stuff he had done. So whereas like they come into this and bring their existing large audiences, I'm a fan of the Transformers, and I'm just like, okay, these, new, rock star people are coming into the property that I love, and just I'm like, well, let's see what happens, and been so pleasantly surprised. Daryl did warn us with Robert Kirkman's style for Void Rivals, like, it's going to be a slow burn. So I'm happy that he did kind of warn us, because that series is very slow, but I've been enjoying that. And like, it was a great, like, okay, there's this whole new universe, but there's Jetfire, so clearly there's Transformers. And as we've gone on now, we've got Springer and Rodimus is coming. So I'm happy that they're showing this whole universe from the outside in, almost, where we're seeing something happening way over there before we even get into the main Transformers stuff. So there's a lot more stuff going on in the universe. I'm hoping they keep that big feeling, because when we get into Transformers, it's a very small story ultimately.
Yeah.
So, I think it was smart the way they did it, showing, we're not just shoehorning all of these properties into one small story. We've got this massive plan, and we're giving you like bits and pieces here, and eventually it's going to come to a head where everything is going to be, crossing over with everything. And I think it was such a smart idea. Like the way the IDW, when they finally did try to join like G.I. Joe and Transformers and ROM and all that, it was just a mess. Like the timelines with G.I. Joe did not match the timelines with Transformers. I think doing stuff with like ROM and that those fit because it was a brand new story. But anyway, this is doing it from the start. We have a plan and we're executing it, and I think it's going well. With Transformers, I like that it started off very, it was like, okay, we know where we are, Arc in a mountain, we know where we are. And then it just goes off completely other direction. And such a smart way to be like, I know the stories that I've been told. We're doing something new here. And it's been great, particularly because of the characterizations that we've seen. Optimus Prime is spot on. Like, we said it many times, that scene with the deer just shows us.
Yeah.
These people know the characterizations of these characters. They know who each of these characters are, how they would react. And then the changes that they've made have been smart. Starscream has always been very kind of homicidal. He doesn't care what happens in order for him to get over to the top of the Decepticons. Megatron stubs his toe. Megatron's fallen. I'm the new. So he's just kind of ramped that up, and showing like in that first issue with Bumblebee, this is a different Starscream. Or it's a Starscream that's like got even fewer filters than before. And just all throughout, I've really been happy with how all the characters have been portrayed. And then the changes have been very logical changes. So, very happy there. The art has been great overall. There have been some times that it takes me a little while to figure out what's going on, just because there's just so much action in a particular page. But with Daniel Warren Johnson's fandom of wrestling, it's very dynamic and very logical. Like when you see a fight scene, what's happening from, one panel to the next, and then throwing in those like a suplex or a drop kick or something. Yeah, that's just fun. But yeah, all overall, I've been very happy with where we are. Very smart. Like you got the Duke Starscream interaction, and then you don't really see any outcome of that here, but then we get the Duke miniseries all basically spinning out of that trauma. And yeah. I think that was, that's where it's the strongest, where we don't get a lot of the strength as some of the things like the Destro, the Cobra Commander, the Scarlet. Those you can see how they're related, but they aren't as strong as the Void Rivals Transformers Duke. Those I feel like are the strongest of the bunch so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I know we're not doing like all Energon Universe, but it's all connected.
Yeah.
But it's really impressive that they've been able to do all of this without really having Megatron and outside of a little bit in Cobra Commander, and then issues 1 through 12 of Transformers, you just get his arm. So it's amazing that they've been able to hold true to their original plan and not go for like, you introduce Megatron, it's going to be a sales success, but every issue has been a sales success. So they don't need to rush anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they've hit numbers that surpass anything we've ever seen before, which is amazing.
Yeah, especially like in 2024. I mean, they outsold the Dreamwave numbers in the early 2000s, which I mean,
crazy.
That was crazy for back then. And now, it's, I mean, of course, I mean, this is post crash of the 90s. So nothing's getting to the circulation of the 80s, the 80s and early 90s, but these are like basically the top you can get beyond that. So,
and something else I just thought of, like after rereading the issues, I think he was seeding the Optimus Prime Sparky thing in that very first page where Spike is trying to get his dad to wake up and he's at the bar and his dad's having flashbacks. At the same time, Optimus Prime is starting to wake up and he's having flashbacks as well. Mm-hmm. And like, I had forgotten about that until we went back and reread it. And that's really smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do have like some nitpicks for just general things that I think could I mean, and these are just quirks that niggle, they just tickle my brain a little bit, but it's just personal preference, but I think he's moving so fast. He's killing a lot of characters. It's like, I mean, and characters that I think could have some significant storyline, but they get kind of thrown away very quickly, which is, I mean, but again, Transformers has so many characters. I mean, I think this might be the point that, Brent from Chicago wrote in a few weeks ago, like, don't just focus on the G1 cast, the G1 84, 85 cast, give us some new characters to focus on. And we're running through that G1 cast a little bit. I mean, we had, and even characters that you think like Cup is a character who's a legacy character, 86 movie character. He's a throwaway character in one issue. He gets blown away and he's gone. Huffer and Warpath, also throwaway characters, get blown away. Ratchet, who was a strong character in the first story arc, said he doesn't make it to the second story arc. He's gone. So we had Shockwave was a big bad in the second story arc and gone. So
and you would hope, I mean, we love these characters and they're robots, so like, who knows how Resurrection works, but I mean, you want to have the deaths to have an impact, but also it is, what are you get, you're going to run out of characters eventually, even though there are so many characters.
Yep.
But I'm hoping that they're out of action for a long time and then they suddenly come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, also, the other thing that's kind of bothering me is time. I don't know how time works in these, for the Transformers, at least. Like when I was reading through the issues again, the Transformers talk about how they've been at war for like a couple 100 years. And then Ultra Magnus said he was tortured for like 150 years. But then, like the flashback with Beachcomber, he was on the Ark. It says millions of years ago, and then the Ark crashes, and he's stuck on the moon for millions of years until the moon landing, and then he hitches a ride to Earth. So, I mean, maybe they were they don't count the time they were asleep. Maybe they were at war for 200 years, and then the Ark left, and then they took a nap for 4 million years, and so that's it. But then that doesn't line up with Ultra Magnus being tortured for 150 years if he was still on Cybertron. Like, he would have been tortured for millions of years on Cybertron, right? So I don't know. That's the time thing is bothering me. Also, years for a different planet. I mean, in the old comics and other stories, they made up their own time units. I would like a little bit of the sci-fi stuff, like the attention to detail in sci-fi added in, where the alien robots don't use years, don't immediately speak English when they land on Earth, and just a throwaway line like, "Hey, we had to recalibrate to Earth's languages" or something, But that's a nitpick too. That they didn't bother with that in the G1 cartoon either, so
right.
not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, but other than those nitpicks, yeah, I don't have any notes for these stories. These have been great. I'm excited to see where it's going. I want to see what happens when Megatron comes back on the scene. I'm imagining a brutal scene when Megatron finally catches up to Prime and rips his arm off to he's like, I am imagining him saying, "Prime, you have something of mine," and just physically ripping that arm off at some point. And
I don't see any other way that he's getting the arm off of Prime other than ripping it.
Yeah. So there's some bad times in Optimus Prime's future coming up. So, also I wonder what the crossover is going to be like for these. I mean, at some point there's going to be crossovers between Void Rivals, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. I wonder what that's going to look like. Are all three going to cross over? Is it going to be, is there going to be some kind of galaxy spanning event, or, is it going to be some more limited in scope where like maybe just Transformers and G.I. Joe have some limited crossovers, but then certain characters, interact between Earth and out in space with Void Rivals. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. So,
yeah.
And of course we're looking at the first year, but then we did get issue 13 of Transformers with it, which has the Starscream, origin story, which really recontextualizes that first story arc where Starscream is so extreme, but then, in that issue 13 where we go back to when he's younger and he's so nice, like he's so like he's looking at these little turbo insects on Cybertron. He's like, "Oh, don't hurt the little turbo insects. They actually help us." And it's like, are you and he's Ulktar. He's not Starscream. He's Ulktar. And then of course he has some inciting incident that pushes him towards the dark side. But even then, I mean, I think we're going to have to wait for the resolution of this story arc with the next issue. Even at the end of issue 13, I don't think we're to where Starscream is in the modern day. Like he wants revenge for the death of his friend, but that's not enough to push you towards full sadist. I don't think he's still got a little bit more to go on the journey.
Well, there's hundreds or millions of years to go.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
That's true. And in the chat, I see Alex in the chat is saying Megatron's missing both arms. He actually did get his left arm back in the Energon Universe special. So when he escaped from Cobra La, he got his left arm back. But he lost his other eye. He had one eye out, and then Globulus stabbed his other eye, so he's blind in both eyes, but he does have his left arm back. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
He's not going to be in a good mood, regardless.
Yeah. And then of course the funny thing with Megatron having that tank gun alt mode that we see in the flashback with when he transforms into a gun and jumps into Starscream's hand, but he's got tank treads. So I wonder on Earth, is he still going to be a tank gun or just a tank, or we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So yeah, I think So I'm optimistic for the future of the Energon universe. I'm really happy with where they're going, and looking forward to it. So also I didn't mention Beachcomber. Beachcomber being this going back to his pacifist characterization from the G1 cartoon. I like that, and just the fact that he was on Earth. He was awake on Earth or on the moon for millions of years, caught a ride with the lunar lander back to Earth. Although also, nitpick, they would have noticed the extra weight the lunar lander.
Yeah, they were just a little bit conscious of the weight on those missions.
Yeah. So I think that they didn't have I think an extra 5-ton capacity to carry a little robot back with them, but we'll overlook that. But I really did like Beachcomber being so into nature on Earth, and then he could have reactivated the Autobots, but he didn't when he found them on Earth, just because he wanted to enjoy nature and wanted to let them sleep. Although that decision bites everyone in the ass now that the Decepticons are awake and causing trouble. But he's committed to his pacifist nature. So even though he does rescue Optimus Prime at the end of the second story arc, but he's not going to take part in any fighting. He's only, he's willing to help people when they need it, but he's not willing to shed blood or shed energon anymore. So I think that's interesting. Hopefully we'll see if that develops more with his character. Yeah, I mean, the second story arc, I did actually, the one thing that did annoy me, and we talked about this in the review of issue 12, is that they spent so much time building up like Cliffjumper. Like, everyone was motivated to rescue Cliffjumper. Carly in particular was very focused on rescuing Cliffjumper. Optimus Prime was focused on rescuing Jazz and Cliffjumper. And then at the very end of the issue, we don't know what happened to Cliffjumper. Is Cliffjumper stuck on Cybertron? Did he go back to Earth? Did he burn up in the atmosphere? Don't know. No idea. Which I thought was a little bit disappointing to end the story arc that way. But
yeah,
hopefully he's all right. I hope he's all right. All right. I think maybe that's a good kind of year in review for Transformers comics. Anything else you want to add, Jeremy?
No, I mean, I think it was a really strong year, and I'm looking forward to what's in store. But and also the art didn't fall off when Daniel Warren Johnson, left after the first arc. Ori Corona been knocking out of the park as well. So
that's right.
We were worried about that, but the styles really meshed well, and so I was happy to see that. But then Daniel Warren Johnson, I can't remember exactly when it was, but he said that he's not doing it past a certain date. So that's a question, like what's going to happen after, like when he leaves the book eventually. But that's in the future.
Yeah,
but
I think it was 24. So I think he said he's up until 24. I don't know if they'll maybe try to convince him to go longer than that, but I guess we'll see.
He strikes me as the kind of guy that wants to make his mark on something and then do something else. But all these people that were big fans of the franchise, I think the series has done its best when you have people like that on it. And we see that. We saw that with IDW. We see that now. Mm-hmm. So I'm enjoying it while he's on the book, and we'll see what happens after.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think we should mention, like, I think Daryl's probably screaming at us watching this. You didn't say anything about the art. Yeah, the art has been great. I think it's been grittier than previous iterations of Transformers, and I like the visceral nature with the action scenes. So yeah, both Daniel Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona, and then of course Mike Spitzer doing the coloring throughout the issues has been also been able to keep it consistent there. So yeah. So yeah, if you have not picked up these comics and are curious about them, definitely check them out. If you've already watched this and we spoiled everything for you, sorry about that, but they're still good. We didn't tell you everything. They're still good stories. Go take a look. But yeah. That's Transformers, the first year one of Skybound Transformers. So, and year two has already started with issue 13, and then issue 14 will be coming in just a couple weeks. So, and yeah, it's a good time. All right, let's continue on with the show with some media news.
All right, we've got the first thing is from Takara Tomy. They tweeted out about a new video game. This might just be Japan only, but Transformers Multi-Shock. They released a trailer. It says it'll be released in Japan soon, and they don't have an exact release date yet, but it looks like a mobile. I don't know. It might be not be mobile, but mobile only. But it's just a mass of enemies coming at you. It looks like you have a team of 3 bots, Autobots and Decepticons mixed, and you're just fighting. I think the enemies are Quintessons, or supposed to be.
Yeah, Quintessons and Sharkticons.
Yeah, but it looks like you just pick your team, and you're just basically blasting through this mass of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, this is like Vampire Survivors. So if anyone has played the Vampire Survivors games, this is it looks like it's a similar design to that, where you're basically it's a like endless just waves of enemies, and your character just fires automatically. All you control is the direction of the character moving around, and they just continue to fire automatically, and the enemies just keep coming at you. Yeah. And I got into Vampire Survivors a couple years ago. It was really like I got addicted to that game for a couple of months. It's a really fun gameplay loop. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see a Transformers version of this. I hope it comes to the West in addition to Japan too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on that. Next up, we have in Astoria, New York. There is a museum called the Museum of Nostalgia. I've never heard of, but it sounds awesome. And they're going to have a signing event with 4 actors from Transformers Cyberverse. It'll be Sunday, November 10th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. with Jamie Lamchick, who is the voice of Arcee, Chromia, and Acid Storm, Jeremy Levy, who was Cyberverse Bumblebee, and also his Bumblebee in Rescue Bots Academy. Jessica I messed up her name last week too. D Giovanni, Cyberverse Windblade, and she was also Windblade in the Netflix War for Cybertron trilogy. Travis Arts, who was Cyberverse Hot Rod. So we don't have any signature and photo rates yet, but pretty cool. If you're going to be in the area, check it out. And
wait, I don't think Windblade was in the War for Cybertron trilogy on Netflix. Maybe it was the Prime Wars trilogy.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah, it just says Windblade and War for Cybertron. So
yeah, that's not. I mean, that's not right.
Oh no, she was Arcee in War for Cybertron.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that was it. So that makes more typo sense there.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, check them out. Looks like it'll be a fun event. And if anyone's been to the Museum of Nostalgia, let us know how it is, because that just seems like an awesome place. Next up, we have Earth Spark Season 3. It has been announced. It was announced like right after we finished recording last week. So, as always, this news comes out too late for us to include it in the week where it's most appropriate. But new season is going to be streaming on Paramount Plus beginning October 25th. They have a new trailer out. It is, I haven't finished season 2, so I didn't watch it, but you can see from the poster here, Prowl shows up. So we'll see how he interacts with everybody. And
that's today, by the way. October 25th is today as this show goes up. So everyone can watch it immediately.
After you finish with, our show, go watch Earthspark.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead. I'm caught up on Earthspark, so I really enjoyed the latter half of season 1, and then all of season 2 was. There were a lot of like cool cameos and like new characters introduced in season 2. So I hope that, and I'm glad that they're continuing. Like I remember the discussion was season 2 the last season. This is still like 8 more episodes. So we're still not even at, like, I think the first season had 26 episodes. So we're still, the season 2 and 3 together are not more than, or less than season 1. But I hope this, I don't know if this is the end of Earthspark, but I think Earthspark has really become an interesting show. I don't want to spoil anything for everyone who isn't caught up, but I will just say if you dropped off Earthspark earlier, definitely pick it up and make it to the end and then continue with season 3. So
yeah. I really hate these like late announcements. So everyone assumed it was over, and then like a week or two before it's released, you get this announcement. I mean, the marketing, hype it up some. Come on.
Yeah.
And I think there was a panel or something at New York Comic Con or something, maybe, I think revolving around this, but if we had known it was coming at San Diego Comic Con time, even, I think the numbers on streaming would do better, because you're just giving people a week's notice, and if you're not paying attention during that week, you'll just assume it never even happened.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, to go along with the show, the season 3 soundtrack has been released on most streaming services. This is selections of the music from the show. They're composed by the duo Crush Effect, and this is based on the track list. It might also include some music from season 2. It's available on Amazon Music, Apple Music, and YouTube, and I would assume it'll show up Spotify, everywhere else. Next, we have some concept art and 3D renders from Transformers 1. This is by, this was from Twitter user arun09345. But these images are from Industrial Light and Magic, and you can kind of see the progression of the characters, what they were thinking when developing them. Excuse me. So we have Orion Pax, D16, Elita 1, Bumblebee. I'm not going to he's Bumblebee.
B127.
Yeah, B127.
Badass Atron.
Yeah. And then you have here some of the progressions of like Orion Pax into Optimus, and how moving from what they wanted originally to the iconic versions. And these are just really cool. Just the different 3D models, kind of, you can see how the Studio Series toys are so accurate, because I'm sure Hasbro guys get these same 3D renders. and then they show how the Matrix works and stuff. So these are just, I would check these out. We get these for every movie, but I think this movie in particular, because the designs are so different, yet still, you can see where they're going to end up as the familiar forms. And it's not just like the random Michael Bay ones that are bits poking out everywhere. These are a lot more your traditional looking Transformers. So anyway, that we'll have a link for that in the show notes. And I think that is all of our media news.
All right, let's finish up the show with convention news.
All right, we have a couple TFCon Baltimore announcements. TFCon Baltimore is November 1st through 3rd, and Andrew Griffith has been just announced as attending. We've had Andrew on many, many times. He's done Lost Light. Robots in Disguise was probably the biggest chunk that he did. He did some of the live action movie comics, All Hell Megatron, tons and tons of stuff. And his new comic Cigna, I got a Kickstarter update recently. It's I think nearing delivery. Like they've made significant progress. So Andrew was just at New York Comic Con, so hopefully there'll be some news by TFCon time.
Maybe he'll even have some to sell at his table.
I don't know, or at least some art he can show off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe if there's a podcaster there that could talk to him and get something with some of that art, it might be fun. Next up, we have Manny Gallen, who is an artist on the Marvel G2 book, and he was also a manager of the Transformer commercials. So he'll be there selling prints and signing stuff. So check him out. I don't know if I've ever seen him at a TFCon before.
No, I haven't seen him either. And I've, I think this is one like signature. I don't have any Manny Gallen signatures on my G2 comics. So gotta bust out the G2 comics.
Yeah, it looks like he did the Transformers commercials and shorts from 2013 to 2019. And he's also going to have a Q&A panel. So that'll be, really cool hearing stuff from, someone we don't, all the regular guests, we've heard a lot of the same stories over and over. So always nice to get new people in there.
Yeah. And that's interesting. Like doing the commercials, that's like 20 years after he did the G2 comics. So. Right. That's interesting that he can't. I wonder if he's like, hey, I used to work on these comics back in the day. Interesting.
Yeah. That's all our convention is.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of the show. And I think actually I got to apologize because I forgot to give a shout out to the Masterpiece Donatrons in the toy show this week. So that's bad. It's really bad. So yeah, it's Daryl's fault. It's Daryl's fault. But I'm gonna correct it now. Give a shout out to the Masterpiece Donatrons. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the podcast at our highest level on Patreon. So that's why you should get a mention in every show. Even if I forget, you still deserve the mention in every show. So thank you once again to John Forks, 11 Good, Demon Tech 82, and Steve C. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Thanks to Jeremy for hanging out all week with me. We did it. Just the two of us.
I never had a doubt.
Despite Daryl trying to wreck the show, we still made it through. So
I mean, he knew that we were going to be talking about G.I. Joe, and we didn't.
Oh, man. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.